Welcome. These will be my thoughts on Arrow Season 2, Episode 4, Crucible. The episode is rated TV-14, so this video there will be spoilers for the episode itself and potentially every episode of Arrow leading up to it. Another episode I absolutely loved. Okay, I'm going to start with the deleted scenes. As far as I can tell, again, just cut for time, good stuff. Basically, as soon as Blood has, said that he's impressed by Oliver in Oliver's office, he walks off and Roshev walks in and, he says he really wants to restore the company. She says that's great if he's telling the truth, but if not, she's gonna get him removed from from the company. And let's see, the alderman, the DA, is he apologizes to Laurel and says he that he wasn't out of line, and she says she's just not in a good place to think about dating. And both really, really good. And I think those are the only ones. Okay, so I really appreciated, a lot of great stuff about Sarah and the, Laurel, struggling with addiction and being in denial about it. And the relationship is improving between Oliver and Blood. And I think that is sort of the overarching. So I'm obviously going to get into more detail. I think it's time for scene by scene. Let's see. Did I? Yeah, I think so. I guess I'll just briefly note. Don't know how I managed to forget. But yeah, one of the episodes before this one in the season had a reference to a Star Labs. I think it was. Hold on. Particle accelerator. And this episode had another, and I mean, I don't know if I want to say, but I think I do know what it is. I put it in a comment on one of the other videos of this season, and there's only 3 of those, so if you really badly want to know, you can check those. But yeah, I quite appreciate the way that they are seeding in these little references, building a wider universe. Let's see. The what was the first scene? Right. So the first scene, the intercutting of the party and Arrow, going around asking, "Where are the other guns going?" And let's see. We get reiteration of the fact that he doesn't kill anymore, which, of course, later he has to stop Sarah from killing. And not long after, the mayor is killed by Blood, though it's the injection, like it seemed like he would have been fine with him surviving. It's just like it's some kind of drug that kills. Like he didn't seem super surprised. Like he wasn't like, well, this didn't happen before. He's more like, well, bring in the next one, I guess. So I'm thinking that's part of why the title is Crucible. It goes with his description of Crucible. And I'm thinking he's one of the people who just came to love the fire. Now, the Yeah, I the thing about, Roshev being like, he's, this is not the time to be fashionably late. And, Felicity is like, you know what? I'm actually in contact with him right now. And then there's like gunfire. So she has to like, yeah, hope that no one notices that she's, reacting to hearing something loud on the, yeah. And he didn't even know there was a party. Like, what party? And let's see. Yeah, continue to really appreciate her on the show. Um, let's see. I think that does pretty much. Yeah, they can bring up, the yeah, she still views him as potential problem for the company, and he, you know, yeah, he really has to prove himself to her. And let's see. Yeah, let's see. He talks to Laurel, and I did really chuckle at the thing about like, please don't ask me how if I'm okay, because everywhere I go, people ask me, am I okay? Channeling Jamie Lee Curtis there, and he's like, I would never. Are you okay? And yeah, Felicity notes, hey, maybe the masked woman isn't following you, but Laurel. And yeah, I mean, I could definitely see the yeah, um, certainly, it's one of those things. As soon as Felicity says it out loud, we're like, right, because like for one thing, if Sarah was primarily at the office to save him, rather, then why didn't she stick around and have any kind of conversation with him? Like that was more, she didn't want him caught. She, more or less agrees with the crusade. And the let's see, she would I think she also worries that Laurel would feel bad if she did end up putting a stop to, she would regret it. But yeah, she wasn't there for him. She was watching Laurel, saw him, and knew she had to save him. So very nicely done on that. Like we assumed that she was following him because she's also a vigilante and she keeps showing up where he is, but yeah, really, really nicely done. Good, solid misdirect there. Now, I think that does bring us to... Yeah. So he, he too follows Laurel and end up being able to have a conversation. And yeah, I love the little subtle setup and payoff of she throws the thing that makes noise, and like they don't say it, but I'm thinking he's got like earplugs or something. He knows she uses that thing. She lost the element of surprise on that one when she freed him, and so he just walks past like, does it get louder? Can I make a request? Because like no radio station will play my favorite song. And, not long after, it explodes. He wasn't thinking that, and neither were we. Very, very nicely done. He made the classic mistake, don't watch the face, watch the Sonic thing. And yeah, holy crap. So long-time supporter and friend of mine, Arts Cafe, who requested I do Arrowverse, recently said that, I would be shocked by the identity of the masked woman. And yeah, holy crap. Yeah, But over the course of the episode, it makes sense. There's she came back to check on her family after the glaze because she, yeah, really, really well done on that. And I like that she says, "I'll give you a minute to process it," and then like the thing explodes because like that's what she meant. She's like, "Well, I see you're not ready to talk." And fantastic acting again. Like she carries herself so completely differently. Just yeah, really, really great. I think I will briefly do the flashbacks before I do more scenes in the present day. So yeah, the he's still in the cell, and now the thing about like, here's what's gonna happen. You're gonna tell me what I want to know, and then I'm gonna off you, or I'm gonna torture it out of you. It's no good choices here. And let's see. Then we have so he shoots and scores, and then Oliver not only is the bullet's going to be removed and sewing up without anesthetic. Not only that, he's going to have to do it himself. Like that's I've heard there are people who pass out from just the intense the human nervous system was not really like evolution did not give us we're not great at turning off the intense pain from that. That's evolution prepared us for a lot of things, not that. And I appreciate that they don't feel the need to show it to us because like we know. And he comes back and asks, explains they've been looking for years for the gravesite, and asks, did you find the deformed fool, I mean Skull's gravesite? And, a pregnant pause later. I'm guessing that Oliver just didn't feel comfortable choosing any of the specific dialogue options, and it goes by the Walking Dead Telltale Games rules. And he feels confident that this means this is indeed the place. And the last the flashback, he has him put into this other place, and says, your screaming has only just begun. And he is played by, I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Jimmy Jean-Louis. I believe that's how. It's been years since I watched. But yeah, the Haitian from Heroes. So I'm guessing he's talking about showing Oliver. What was that called? Heroes Reborn. That terrible down the line sequel. I know I could have got some people would say could have gone with just season 2, 3, or 4 of the original. I don't think those are as bad as I appreciate the problems with them, but the sequel series was like I struggled to even make it all the way through that thing. Now I think that pretty much covered right. And yeah, at the end of the flashback, Oliver sees Sarah, and she's holding a knife, and this is oh boy, I am scared for him. Yeah, let's see. I thought it really worked the way that let's see, what was the next scene? while I try to think of it, I'll go over the fact that he asks, wait, were you hoping that I told them? And she doesn't answer, and then he has to go out and talk to Quinn, and we see her face as Detective Lance, and clearly she hears it, and she's like, it looks like she's seriously considering going out there. And there's the thing about like, well, you told them that I died on the boat. They never talked to you again. He's like, yeah, that would actually be an upgrade. But yeah, and Sin also asks, why aren't you telling them about still being alive? I think therefore I am so Team Arrow talk about the weapons, and I like the thing about right, and actually I guess somewhere around there's the scene where um, the conversation about well, who maybe the cops can find out who is supplying the weapons, and I like the mayor. Didn't the mayor get shot? Business is booming. It's never been like, turns out being plugged like that, really good advertisement for more guns, according to conservative Americans. But the let's see, then we have the very, very nicely done when he's like testing out one of the guns on the dummy, and the guy comes back and he's like, you are, was it conspicuously unarmed, something along those lines, and he's like, well, Arrow showed up, and the mayor's about to shoot him, and then this other guy steps up and is like, I'd like to ask for leniency. I brought this guy in, he's my cousin. And then the mayor's like, well, maybe I should shoot you. And then the guy's like, you know what? He's actually he's a distant cousin. But by then it's too late. And that really does that. And then he's like, you better show that you're a better member of your family than he was. Again, like, it's one of those things, I know I've talked about in videos about this show before, but bears repeating. Really, really great if you can have a strong introduction to a character. Like, the first two things we see him do is, fire this gun. So like, we immediately, like, we've already been told, like, yeah, he's the one supplying the guns, but even so, like, he's not like hands off. He's one of those, and the very next thing, he shoots someone who didn't even really personally fail, just like by proxy, so yeah, he is ruthless, and like, gets his hands dirty sometimes. Let's see, I think that pretty much gets us to the right. I like the when Blood says, you show up when you said you weren't going to. You never call when you say you will. Just like, but we do see this begrudging, increasing respect. And I really, really liked when, so Blood comes to the office again, and Rochev is there, and he's like, so, this is Rochev. She's my superior partner. We're still trying to figure that part out, just, yeah. And, she is not happy about the, what was it? Guns for toys? No. Guns for cash. gun buyback, which is genuinely clever, but yeah, does require some funds. And let's see, yeah, it's really great. They're doing such a good job here of in the 4 episodes of this season, and also some of season 1, of this thing of like basically Oliver has to choose one over the other. He can't really, there's no choice that makes everyone happy, because like he's choosing between Rashev and Blood. Understandable. Oh, I like the thing about is that blood on your face? Oh, it's not his blood. Of course it says blood. Who else's blood would it be? You need more practice with your shaving machine. And I think that does get us to the, let's see. What was the next thing? I guess the part where let's go with at least the so yeah, there's the tracking thing. I really like the line, "You both need to work on your definitions of good news." Oh yeah, them talking about Sarah. And again, the two of them really point out to Oliver he's been lying about Sarah. And I love Dig's line about secrets have a weight. The more secrets, lies have a weight. The more you keep, the slower you move. Something along those lines. And he does try to work out with Sarah. If and I love that he genuinely, he doesn't ask her, can you please not tell your family that you're alive, because it would be bad for me. No, he, as soon as he finds out she's alive, I'm not sure it even crosses his mind that oh, I hope, yeah, I don't get the sense that he hopes that she doesn't reveal her still being alive to her sister and father. He's not sure if it will happen, but he at no point, he's very specific that she's not allowed to kill the mayor, but he doesn't ask for that, because he understands, he knows, so yeah, for now she's not telling them. But that's the thing. Is she one of the people who made it through the Crucible and loves the fire? It's I feel like she's dancing between the I mean, obviously she's not the person who died in the Crucible, but she's unsure right now if she's the one who loves the fire or the one who came out stronger. Because at the end of the day, if she doesn't love the fire, what does she stand to lose by telling her? Because she, I definitely don't get the sense that she hates them. One thing I can't help but wonder, if she's maybe worried how Laurel, if Laurel is mad at her over going with Oliver on the Queen's Gambit. If yeah, let's see. I don't know if she's, yeah, I think, let's see. I think let's move on to the the thing about the yeah, the So I already said, she carries herself completely different. There's a toughness and her, like, when we saw her in the Queen's Gambit, like, her feelings for Oliver were right at the forefront. And now, like, we can tell that there's still something there, but the yeah, it's not what's driving her anymore. And this is, of course, also something, like, if it were, she could have, like, she knows where to find him. He has a pretty famous mansion, and she sneaks into places, so it's not like she couldn't, um, and she chose not to. He had to set up the meeting, and she runs away as soon as she has a chance. But she also shows up again not very long after. So it is this thing of, like, well, is she trying to avoid, or is it, yeah, really, really nicely done on that. Yeah, so they both need to improve their definition of good news. And the thing about, like, guess which company, made the tracking device. I'll give you a hint. Their CEO is always late. Very fun. And right, I like the thing about, $20 says, pay the man. And I think that does pretty well get us to, yeah, so very nicely done on, so we see, the tracking device starts, blinking again. They need to make those subtler. And yeah, the mayor realizes, smashes it, and so cool when Arrow gets in there and just firing arrows, dodging bullets, like that bit where he, like, jumps and there's, like, gunfire all around, like, basically they're not shooting where he's about to be because they haven't played enough Space Invaders. They're shooting where he just was because he's that freaking fast. So cool. And of course, with all those people he has to take out, again, fantastic action. The I don't think I say that every single video I do on the show. So far it's been true each time. Anyway, yeah, with how many he has to take out, yeah, the mayor is able to get out of there. Then we have I like the relationship between Sin and Sarah. The Sincera tea. The way that listen, I'm skinny, but I will eat the other burger. Just, yeah, like, her way of saying, you really do have to eat. You have to take care of yourself. Yeah, and the conversation about it, and we hear, Sin is like, well, my parents think I'm dead, or maybe they just wish I'd never been born. One of those, and that's how she ended up, in this, like, not wonderful situation. I mean, okay, so right now she's, working with a vigilante, so that's not, like, the worst thing, but before that, and that's only been going on for months, she, I get the sense that she was already, in this neighborhood that wasn't the best. So yeah, let's see. I think, does that pretty much get us to, let's see, the right, the mayor also feels like a very logical outcome of the earthquake. There's a power vacuum, and he, tries to fill it. And yeah, I think that does get us to the part with the doesn't that get us to the buyback? Right. Yeah. There's so many things happen in just one episode. I also really appreciated. So I've already mentioned, Laurel is now she has a problem, and I thought it worked very well the way that So she claims she doesn't have a problem, and she says this happened one time, and that is that is something that sometimes addicts will say. Minimize the problem. And when he tells that, he says more will be real, and he tells them she has a problem. She's addicted to work, and who knows what else. And then we see her like, popping pills, drinking more wine. Yeah, really. Yeah, I am worried about her. And I like that he goes to Oliver and says, maybe she'll listen to you. It really is great the way that they evolve the characters' relationships. There's a chunk of the first season where he would not have gone to Oliver. And yeah, I think that does. Yeah, and she's also reluctant to listen to Oliver and says, why, right? And she says, like, she asks us if they're gossip buddies, and it's so unfortunate the thing that that the idea of gossip, the word itself and such, have such a negative connotation. Others have already pointed out it's basically, patriarchy and misogyny trying to dissuade women from talking to each other about things they're concerned about, in part because a number of the instances where this occurs, they are talking about a man that might be a threat. And it's so ridiculous because, like, I'm afraid I forget who made the observation, but someone pointed out men also talk, like a lot of us men will talk about things, when at least one person affected by it isn't present. But when we do it, it's called networking. Like, we're doing the same thing. And, speaking as someone who, when I was in school, there were times where it was only guys, like, locker rooms. Yes, sometimes the whole thing, locker room talk. I'm not saying it's always the case, but there are times where it's true. I've heard so many guys say just the absolute worst things about someone who wasn't there to defend themselves. A lot of the times it would be like demonstrable lies, just like trying to ruin someone else's reputation. And I'm not saying that women are perfect, but I have heard that sometimes women will do that, but a certain percentage of the time when women, gossip, they are trying to find out the solution to a thing. And yeah, I don't know. In a way, they are almost using it right, just like Laurel is thinking of it as a negative. But that is kind of what is happening, two people that care about her, concerned about her, talk about her problem when she isn't present to try to find out how to help her solve it. So, yeah, points for that to the show. And yeah, the actual thing. So yeah, he he points out, like, I have got to stop eating takeout. I can't take it out anymore. And he says, neither should you. So let's, we should eat something off a plate. And if you haven't already, Lindsay Ellis's video series, The Whole Plate, fantastic. And I recommend a lot of serious videos. Sometimes I like to recommend a fun one. If you haven't already watched Matt Rose's let's see if I can remember it. My wrist is too sore to check right now, but it was something like attaching the wrong picture to a tweet, I think it was. I was in stitches. As haphazard ones as the ones that Oliver did. Let's see, so they have dinner, and I also thought they did a really good job. Like, we see her drinking, and then the waitress, I think it is, brings in like another glass, and she immediately takes that, and clearly she's pushing a little too far, and she says, oh, but I had a little bit to drink. Yeah, when you do that, you're supposed to get a ride. You're not supposed to get behind the wheel, and yeah, the let's see, yeah, and when her father shows up, she's like, that guy didn't have to call you, and he points out, you're incredibly lucky that he did. You could have lost. There's so many things you could have lost. As a result of this, what were you thinking? Maybe you inherited this from me, like you inherited certain other things, which, again, they've done such a great job establishing she is very much her father's daughter. There are things that where she is just like him. So, yeah, I think that does get us to the buyback, actually. Yes. So, yeah, really, really loved. I've referenced it several times, so I'm not going to spend forever on it, but the whole Crucible thing, I'm digging the way that Blood, like, when he wants to make a point, he does reference, like, I guess it's not exclusively, like, stuff that's important to Christianity, but, like, crucifixion, Crucible, like, these are things where, I don't know, maybe that's also, like, my bias. My country has a lot of Christians in it. I think, are they still the majority? Maybe. I forget. It's been a while since I looked at the numbers, but yeah, here in Denmark, a lot of Christians. I would say probably at least 2/3 were either Christian or at least didn't say that they weren't when I was growing up. So apologies if it is. I'm sure there are other cultures than Christianity that have. Yeah. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, and he says living is not for the weak. Which of course calls back to the part of the flashback where there's the thing of well, we all had to remove the bullet and sew ourselves up. We see all of them lift their shirt to show the scar where they dug out a bullet and sewed it back up. Weird flex, but okay. And yeah, Roy, handing in all the guns, and Thea's like, thanks, I don't want to know where you got them. And he actually says, you know what, keep the money. And yeah, let's see, and he assures her it's from his past, and says, he's no longer a hero, he's no longer a criminal. And then Sin shows up, and introductions are made. She keeps calling Thea your worshipfulness. Not literally, but felt like making the reference. And yeah, that was quite fun. And she's like, you didn't tell her that you're the errand boy, did you? And yeah, I quite appreciate her keeping the secret. And it's one of those things, like, you get the sense that the characters on the show appreciate, there are a couple of things. For one, Roy is also helping keep, Sin's secret. Clearly not everybody knows, like, okay, let's see. The guy that Roy sold liquor to knew that Sin would be able to get him in contact with Sarah. But it's not like he said, go to that tower, so that's something Roy knows that, about her, and clearly is not something everyone knows. And yeah, he could easily, like, if he just wanted to hurt either or both of them, it would be extremely easy for him to get that information to people who would want to do so. So let's see, the and there's also, part of it is also that they are trusted by the other person. Roy and Sin didn't feel the need to make a huge deal out of, like, you better not tell about this secret. I like the way that Thea is, like, not quite sure. She is not super happy about this relationship, but then she also doesn't, like, prevent him from seeing her in the hospital, for example. But yeah, they exchange names, and Thea's like, Sin, are you a sinner? And she's like, sometimes. I should watch that movie again. It's been a while. I have watched it multiple times. Anyway, including since I... Oh, wow. Did I not make a video on? I have to check that. I could rewatch that. Just gotta get access to a copy and do a video. Moving on. Yeah. The fact that the mayor crashes the gun buyback. Again, very nicely done, because, like, the moment that it happens, it's like, oh no, like, we're not like, what, why? We appreciate, like, this is, of course, and that's and it also helps. So other than it making perfect sense based on what we already know, this is exactly in line with how the mayor has been characterized up to that point in the episode. Other than that, it's it really underlines they have to stop this guy. He shoots several people. Some cops are hit, which, like, a cab, but I also don't want them hurt. Yeah, let's see. I think and the fact that he manages to, he gets Blood to duck after Blood, like, just calls him out. Holy crap, he really does let his temper get the better of him sometimes. And yeah, when he didn't duck and Oliver had to get him to do so, at first I thought, oh, I guess he's not used to, he doesn't think that if he's not being shot at, he's not doing his job properly. He's just not prepared for it. But, like, based on later when he says, just bring me the next one for the injection, like, is it possible? Okay, I'm gonna try not to think too much about it, not try to accidentally spoil it for myself. But it's definitely an interesting choice based on the fact that they have him not duck for bullets and also be revealed, be wearing a mask, in the same episode. I do think they are, like, I think there was a reason why he didn't duck. I don't think he was just not. So yeah, looking forward to finding out. And I think I've already said, but really, really love the way that this show, like, the various revelations. I just like saying Relevation instead of revelation. It made me chuckle when I saw that movie. And it's saying something about decrease in quality. Hope it's not too bad. Afraid there's not really anything I can do about it. Anyway, the video's probably pretty close to over. I've talked about most of the episode. Yeah, yeah, I've been really happy with the answers we've gotten to questions on the show so far. That's obviously a pretty big deal when there's this many questions raised and answered over the course of, I mean, even just the entire first season, there were so many. So, yeah. And Roy is part of why Sin survives. And I like the thing about I guess I have to keep your secret. And Thea's like there is like, secret, huh? And then Sin's like, he sure is not the brightest, huh? And she's like, it's the first and last thing I think of the day. And I think I'm pretty much gets us to the yeah. So yeah, now that he's shown his face, they're like, I like Felicity going, well, I borrowed the FBI, which this was so yeah, she accesses the database and runs the image through, rather than have an AI try to identify him, because those are notoriously unreliable. But yeah, and they find out, so foster family and this other guy. I appreciate the detail that there was one guy who was not okay with the gun the guns ending up in the hands of the mayor, but the rest of them were okay with it, which there is a fairly high percentage of military members who do what their commander tells them to, even when they know they shouldn't. Some Democrats made a video saying you should refuse legal orders. The president said they should probably be executed for that. Jose very recently made a video. Let's see, The Sharp Fall of Ben Shapiro, I think it was called, where he points out that it's very silly when Ben Shapiro claims that Donald Trump is a normal president. Like, holy crap. It is genuinely astonishing to me that there are people who hear, like, conservative talking heads in America and don't immediately say, you know what, that makes no sense. That's so ridiculous. But I mean, for a lot of them, they're just reaffirming the biases of the listeners. So yeah. I guess this is a perfectly decent time to recommend you watch Kaylin Conrad's excellent video. Let's see if I can recall that title. Are all homophobes gay? Yes. Are all homophobes gay? Yes, I think that's not me answering that question. That's me deciding to move on. Yeah, I think the if I start talking about Venezuela and what America is doing, we're going to be here forever. So I'll just note that it's really, really messed up, and America should probably start stopping doing just the absolute worst that they can get away with in order to enrich the guy who tries to avoid paying taxes and stiff people working for him, and on and on. I think that pretty much covers the Okay, at this point I might as well note Quarrator's video. I think it was just called The Blues. Excellent. And yeah, so yeah, I thought it really worked the way that Arrow tells Sarah about, where the mayor is. Very nicely done. She would not have been able to find that out. She does not have, someone finding this stuff out on a computer. It's, as far as I can tell, it's really just her and Sin. And, that's not nothing. I'm not saying it is, but it's, yeah, not the same, yeah. And he's seeing how she'll do in a fight. And I was sitting there thinking, like, if she kills someone, that's kind of on him. He brought her. You got to be responsible for the kills of the one you brought. And yeah, fantastic scene. And it's one of those things where, well, if there's two of them, you got to have more. There's got to be a lot of people for them to stop, for it to not feel like one of them is just like resting on their laurels while the other one handles it all or something. But yeah, they managed to make sure there were a lot, and some of them had military training, military weapons and such. And yeah, she is just so freaking cool. It's unreal, like her with the staff. And I quite enjoyed also when they briefly swap weapons and use, yeah. And okay, so Arrow is not just fast and accurate. He can shoot a grenade with an arrow before it gets, close enough to hit. Like, oh, holy crap. That is just, I love it. Now, I think that does get us to, yeah, and she does have to be talked down from killing the mayor, and it's really nicely done because that shows two things. One thing is that she is still very much willing to kill, and we already knew this, but she does it even when Arrow's right there, and I feel like it's probably been in the news by now. Arrow stopped killing people. Because he's been doing it for several episodes now, 3 episodes where he doesn't kill the people he's going up against, when he used to do that all the time. So she knows, and she still comes close to killing him. But when Oliver insists that she doesn't, and says, it's not about forgiveness, we're not forgiving him. Yeah, she does agree. And like the detail that she also does not like the B word. And I think that pretty much covers, I think I may have already said, but so far, from what I recall, I will admit, I mean, it must have been like 20 years since I read, but I did read some comics that had her in them as a substantial enough part to make some, get some idea of what she's like in her comic iteration. From what I recall, what we've seen so far has been quite accurate to that version. I think the one thing is the exact identity was different, but the person that's behind the mask. But outside of that, the characterization, that does bring us to, let's see. So there's very little left now for me to get into. So there's the, let's see. It's one of those things where, like, if Sarah does reveal her still being alive to Laurel, I don't know if that's going to make the drinking, better or worse. because like sometimes, you know, that's another thing evolution didn't do the best job preparing us for, complex emotions. Sometimes we will just find something simple and yeah, embrace that instead of processing the complex ones. So because like it's one thing that she has Sarah back, but it's another that for all this time she thought she was dead. Why didn't Sarah come back? Also love the fact that she is wearing that cap from the sports team, the Starling City Rockets, when she's in the hospital. I love the doctor being so dramatic, like, you know, is she okay? Is she worse? You better come take a look at this cliche. Just like, would it have killed you to just say, no, she's awake. I want you to be able to talk to her. And the, let's see. I think that does basically just leave that last little bit. Yeah, so blood. I had noticed that he was very intense. I did not realize that he was also going to be a costumed character. I will admit I don't think I offhand know that character from the comic. Like, I mean, it's not Scarecrow because it's not like fear, toxin, um, injection. I mean, he looks slightly like Bane, but with Bane, you've got hold on, I know this. Venom, right? Oh, it's been so long. I have played the first two Arkham games, and there they talk about what's in. If I recall correctly, I don't think I've read a comic that Bane appeared in, or else I just don't remember. I do know that he is not quite comic accurate in the Nolanverse, but you know, they tend not to be. I think, but yeah, holy crap! And I thought it really worked. Like I wasn't entirely sure if we were going to find out who was under the mask, but I do think it was right to and yeah, really nicely done. Also on is this why they call him Blood? But but yeah, the blood like streaming from the face was like really yeah, it I know I've said it before, but it really is something else that you can do that on a TV-14 but not a PG-13. It's so silly. Like, America has such weird ideas about how much you can show. You know, I'm not the first person to point out, like, in a lot of PG-13, like, there's technically more violence. It's just less graphic than R-rated stuff. Yeah, moving on. Yeah, I can hardly wait to find out more of, because, like, I don't know exactly. See, the fact that Blood, I don't know if he's going to be a hero or a villain, because he did try to, you know, he goes to the mayor, you know, and says he's making an army. But is it a redemption thing, or is he actually... right now, I could be proven wrong down the line. I haven't watched past this episode yet. Right now, I don't think that he just doesn't actually care. I think he is sincere when he, you know, the firebrand speeches to Oliver and the press and such. But if I had to guess right now, I'm thinking, yeah, he is trying to make an army to, like, yeah, an army of vigilantes maybe, or he's a vigilante and he has an army, something like that. And that's how he's going to help the Glades. In his view, he's going to protect them through this, the sort of Magneto kind of thing. They brought the fight to us. We are just responding in kind. But it also means that I do something that is a bit messed up, maybe, so yeah. And yeah, he is working with at least some police. And yeah, I think that does cover the entire episode. Yeah, really glad that the actress playing Sarah is getting more appearances. I think I did say I liked we didn't get a huge amount of stuff in the first season of her, but I like what we got. Her talent shown through, and the fact that, her character did have more on her mind. Like she decided to go with Oliver, but once they were on the boat, like she was also saying, like, are we sure it's safe out here? So, which, Oliver wasn't really thinking that far. So yeah, uh, I think that does pretty much get us. Yeah, um, really, really solid episode again. Can hardly wait. Um, I'm not expecting it to be very long before I do the next episode. Yeah. Um, and I liked when Roy said, he's no longer a hero or a criminal. He's just the busboy and boyfriend, or bus boyfriend.